What's up? It's Young Retro, aka Retro P, aka Joshua Porter. And with me, of course, is God's most gorgeous creation.
I'm Mia Porter.
Yes, and we are here to give you guys the Bible study.
Yay, it's time to study the Bible. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and open up with some prayer.
God, thank you for allowing us to all get together again and to discuss your word. And please let us all leave with something that will just make us better and be able to honor you in a better way, and for us to just keep growing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So what did we talk about last time?
So last time, Pastor Danielle and Pastor Fred let y'all know that we are going to be working through the book of Proverbs. Are y'all so excited?
Proverbs is my favorite book of the Bible. There's a lot of good information up in there. Everybody should read it. It's going to help you out to avoid some stuff.
Yes, so we are really excited to go through all of this with you guys. And of course, last week, they started with Proverbs chapter 1, verses 1 through 7, talking about what the purpose of Proverbs was, who wrote Proverbs, and who it was written for. Let me ask y'all something. Pop quiz. Put in the comments right now, who wrote Proverbs and what is the purpose of Proverbs? Because y'all were watching last week. I know you were, so you're going to know. So yeah, we'll be looking through the comments and see who was watching last week later on. But yes, today, since they went through Proverbs 1, verses 1 through 7, we are going to pick up right at verse 8 in Proverbs chapter 1. So let's go ahead and get started. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8, this section or this part of the chapter is a prologue to the chapter. And so a prologue is an introduction. So that means that this is what the author, who y'all know, because you're going to put it in the comments, wanted you to know before anything else. This is what they wanted you to know before we started talking about anything else, right? So that tells me that this is important and we need to pay close attention.
Facts.
Yes. In my NIV version of the Bible, the title of this section is Prologue, Exhortations to Embrace Wisdom, Warning Against the Invitation of Simple Men. Now, I highlighted invitation in my notes because there are going to be invitations from simple men. There will be offers from simple men and women and kids and your friends and all that stuff. So this invitation will come because people always want you to do things with them. Y'all ever notice that? They don't want to be alone because when you're doing something alone, you might feel like ashamed or something. They want the comfort of a friend doing it with them or just another person doing it with them, and this brings validation to them. And y'all all know the saying, misery loves company, and people who participate in the activities that are, outlined in these verses are definitely miserable. So don't give them your company. Don't do it. Okay.
Don't do it.
Let's get started with verse 8. You want to read it, babe? Oh, he snatched it.
Proverbs 1, verse 8. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck.
So this is all about listening to the teaching and the instruction of your parents.
I know it's hard to listen to your parents when you're young. You feel like you know everything. You be like, man, they just saying this and whatever. But they know what they're talking about. They've been through it. Proverbs is all about wisdom. And what do our parents have that we don't? Well, we do have it, but we don't have as much as them. Wisdom.
Right.
You get wisdom by living. They've been through it. They experience stuff. That way we don't have to.
That's right. And I know everybody says like, oh, listen to your parents, do what they tell you to do. And that's good, but know that this is a biblical principle, listening to what your parents say to do. So that's how you know that you need to do it in order to have the life that you're supposed to have. Like, I can't tell you how many things, when you're younger, my parents tell me stuff and I'm like, okay, whatever. And now that I'm grown, I have my own house and life, there's so many things I wish I could go back and just replay them talking to me, so it's really valuable what they're teaching you. Like the verse compares it to a garland to grace your head. Like that's a beautiful image, that's a beautiful thing, and it's a blessing. So I know it's, it can be hard sometimes, but think of it as a blessing.
Verse 10 through 12. My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, come along with us, let's lie in wait for innocent blood. Let's ambush some harmless soul. Let's swallow them alive, like the grave, and whole, like those who go down to the pit. You see that? They're not even trying to hide it. They said, let's go wait for some innocent blood. Trying to do some wild stuff. Y'all gonna listen to this?
Right. Some people who didn't even do anything to them, they're just going around and mess with people, and they're saying to you, come on, come do it with us, right? So what does this remind y'all of? What do we always talk to y'all about in Bible study? Peer pressure.
Also, it's not always going to be that blatantly obvious. Sometimes, it's not always going to be like, hey, let's go bully that kid over there. You might just be in school and see some kids making fun of another kid and you join in because you want to be cool or like feel validated. And you might not even realize that you're doing anything bad. You could be really messing that kid up. So it's not always just super obvious, like stealing somebody's lunch money or like tripping somebody in the hallway. You could be joining in, just being a bystander. And by doing that, you're doing what this is saying right here, and you're not using your wisdom, you're not thinking for yourself. That's that peer pressure.
Right, so most of the stuff that y'all deal with on a day-to-day basis is much more subtle than this. It's like he was saying, it's not like y'all sitting down with a plan, let's go bully this person, but it's just, you can tell when you're not around the right crowd. Like there's people they just keep doing certain things that just don't feel right to you. So, it doesn't always have to be something that is being done either. Like maybe this is an internal pressure that you feel to just act like certain people, like act like a certain group and try to blend in. And you want to go along with them because you think they're cool and like you want them to like you and stuff, but you know that what they do and how they talk doesn't align with your goals and with your values. So this entire passage is just a big warning against doing that, against trying to fit in and just going along with stuff you don't agree with just so you can be a part of something.
Have you ever tried to fit in, babe?
I never, it's kind of weird, but we teach all this, and I think that there's a point in having me teach you guys stuff like this. I never struggled with peer pressure. If anything, I was a little bit like, I don't want to say stuck up. There was a better term. But we attended leadership academies. We've always, tried to be leaders. So it wasn't so much that I was trying to go along with things or trying to blend in. I just did what I did. So, but I can identify with that struggle and I understand it. So
I definitely did.
You did? What'd you do?
Like what every kid does. You hear the way people be talking and you be trying to talk like them to fit in. Or like you just see them doing certain things, so you try to do it like them to fit in. And it's not even what you would really do,
Yeah, and I do have examples, like later on in the passage, I do have examples about stuff from my childhood and my time in school and stuff. It wasn't necessarily giving into peer pressure, but it was something a little different. So we'll get into that. But yes, so last week in the Bible study that y'all definitely watched, last week Pastor Danielle said it's always easier when you're doing things the right way, right? So the right way, which will always be what the word says, right? So the word is always right, and that's what the right thing to do is, right? The right way will pay off in the long run, and the wrong way, like going along with people when you know it ain't right, while comfortable in the moment, like, oh, they're like, oh, so you're so cool, oh, you down, that's gonna lead you to hardship. We're not even talking about them, it's not gonna work out for them, but for you personally, it's not gonna work out when you're doing stuff that you know is not right? Right, babe?
Right.
All right.
Proverbs 1:13-19 NIV. We will get all sorts of valuable things and fill our houses with plunder. Cast lots with us. We will all share the loot. My son, do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into evil. They are swift to shed blood. How useless to spread a net where every bird can see it. These men lie in wait for their own blood. They ambush only themselves. Such are the paths of all who go after ill-gotten gain. It takes away the life of those who get it.
Take away the life. Right. Actually, there's something stuck out to me that didn't stick out to me when I was studying this, which is they said, cast lots with us, we will all share the loot. And that's interesting because it's like, even further the group or the pressure or whatever is trying to entice you, because it's like you feel like there's something that you might be missing out on if you don't. Let me tell y'all right here and now, it's nothing that you are missing out on. I promise. When groups go out and y'all know FOMO, y'all know if you're on Snapchat and you see your friend at some party that your parents told you couldn't go to, or that you felt like just in your spirit that you shouldn't go to, and you looking at the party, they look like they're having fun, you feel like, man, why do I have to miss out on the fun? Why can't I go and do the fun stuff with everybody else? I'm missing out. I promise you're not. For whatever reason, if something told you not to go, then you definitely should not have been there, and you don't have to worry about missing out on anything. Just to reassure you, right? So what we did to like fill out the rest of the time that we have with y'all is to look at this passage and look at these verses in some different translations, because different translations can clarify things for different people, and we just want to make sure that y'all all have an understanding. And it definitely helped me when I was going through and studying and looking at it, you know, said in different ways of phrasing. So let's look at some of the things that we talked about in a little bit of a different way to say it.
Dear friend, if bad companions tempt you, don't go along with them.
Right. So this is like, the reason why I love the message is because it is so straightforward and clear, and it's very hard to misunderstand. So I like the term bad companions, right? So we wanted to ask y'all, like, what to you is a bad companion? Like, what do they look like? What do they act like? What do you think, babe?
Anybody who is, I guess, just doing the wrong thing. Like, if they know the right thing and they do the wrong thing, that's a bad companion, I would say. Mm-hmm. Or if they always get you in situations.
That's true. What if y'all in a type of friendship where you are seen as like a goody two shoes? Because I was definitely in that place when I was in elementary school and like middle school and stuff. People would call me that, right? Because I'm trying to be kind, I'm trying to just have fun and be nice to people and stuff. And my friends are trying to go off and do something crazy, and I say, no, I'm not with that. And then they go, oh, Nia, you're such a goody two shoes. If you're surrounded by people who think that you trying to be right and live by the word is being a goody two shoes or being a prude or whatever those other words they want to call you, that might be, you know, maybe some bad companions. Like maybe you could switch your company up a little bit, right? We talked about like the company you keep, right? It really matters. So we could flip that and say, well, what does a good companion look like? What kind of friends are we trying to have while we are, you know, like on our walk, on our journey, right?
True.
What do your good companions look like?
They lift you up, and it feels good to be around them. It doesn't feel draining. It feels like they give you energy.
Aww. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good companion. That's like somebody you're like, this is my best friend. Like every time I talk to them, I feel better about myself. Like I don't feel tired and stressed out just to be hanging out with them, you know? So it's just something that really gives you a good feeling, and it is edifying to you. So when I was in elementary school, I got in the most trouble for talking, laughing, and just like generally being like misbehaving. I was just I was in the wrong, you know, it's okay to talk and laugh, but it was at the wrong times, like while the teacher was teaching or whatever, right? And I was like, man, I can't seem to stop this. Like, teacher keep telling my parents on me. I'm like, man, I gotta like really behave, right? So there was a girl in my class, and I remember her to this day because of this. She never got in trouble. Like she was pretty quiet, she was chill, you know, and the teachers would always praise her because she just never got in trouble. She was never, you know, doing the wrong kind of thing or misbehaving or anything. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'm gonna watch her, the girl who never gets in trouble, and whatever she's doing, that's what I'll do. So I was doing my own thing. I was talking, laughing, you know, reading a book when it was time to work and all this stuff. But I would look at her, and when she was done with her work, she would just sit quietly, put her head down on the desk. And so I sat quietly, I put my head down on the desk, and now I'm not getting in trouble, right? So that's just an example of like, you know, sometimes it's me. Like, it's not always, you know, peer pressure and other people influencing you. Sometimes you're just generally in the wrong, and it's good to find a good companion, somebody that is like a role model to you or somebody you can look up to that is acting right, and try to emulate some of what they do, right?
True.
Right.
All right, another section from the message. Oh, friend, don't give them a second look. Don't listen to them for a minute.
Yeah, I like that because it's just so like...
Second look. By second look, like, you know how you'll make your mind up about something, and then you're like, man, should I? You know, like, don't even entertain the idea, basically is what they're saying. Like, once you made up your mind, keep going with it. Like, if you decide not to do something, don't do it. It's like what Nia was talking about with the FOMO, fear of missing out. Once you made up your mind, you can't be on Instagram looking at what they're doing like, oh, that's so cool, I wish I would have went. Like, don't. You made up your mind. Go do you.
Yeah, I like that. I like how straightforward it is. I like the don't listen to them for a minute, because you can get yourself into situations even though you know you're not supposed to be doing it. If you sit there and listen and like you touch and you taste a little bit and you're like, well, you debating with yourself, and now you're double-minded, and it's just unstable, all of it, right? So you gotta lay down the law and say no. That's one of the things that I love the most about my husband, because he's very decisive, whereas I might be a little bit more indecisive. So he makes a decision, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. That's it, right? I'll be sitting there, oh, should I? No, I shouldn't. Well, maybe I should. You know, all of that is just a mess, right? So this verse is saying, this is the wisdom that is coming at y'all right now. It's saying don't give it a second look, don't talk to them, don't listen to them for a minute, not even a minute. And a minute is a really short amount of time, but they're saying not even that much, none at all, right? So yeah, so you gotta turn away from that type of stuff quickly, right? So I have another example. So this is kind of funny too. So when I was in the 8th grade, I had friends that were like doing really well in school. They were very studious, they were well behaved and everything. And in the 9th grade, so the year right after that, I stopped really being friends with them. Like I think one of them moved away and everything, it just didn't work out. And I made some friends with some girls who like really didn't care about school, and they got in trouble a lot for just like mouthing off at the teacher and like doing bad stuff, right? And I was friends with them because, you know, they were nice to me and we had similar interests. Like I wasn't really thinking about, oh, how do they act, how do they treat teachers, how do, you know, what are their goals, I'm not thinking about all of that, right? I'm in 9th grade, like I'm just chilling. So, but it actually caught up with me because my teacher pulled me aside and said something like, you know, last year I saw how you were hanging out with so-and-so and so-and-so, and I was like, that's really good for her and stuff. And this year I'm like, who is she hanging out with? And I was like, I didn't realize that people are watching, like, especially when they know, because you know your teachers are taking notice of you. All the glory of God and all the call of God that's on your life, like every single one of y'all, I know your teachers take special notice of you and they watch what you do. And I know that they're watching who you hang out with, because my teachers are watching who I hang out with, and I wasn't expecting that at all.
That goes to show that, you know, they don't even have to talk to Nia to make a new, you know, judgment on her. Like she's hanging out with that one group and, you know, they're like, oh, Nia's, like let's say the teacher didn't know them, they're gonna think Nia's like a good student, she's hanging out with those good students, versus the teacher we saw in 9th grade. If she says all the people Nia are hanging out with in 9th grade, like talking back to the teachers, not doing well, and they don't even know Nia, what do you think they're gonna assume about Nia? They're gonna assume that she's the same as her friends.
Yeah.
So who you hang out with matters.
It matters, y'all. So
even if you're doing the right thing and everyone else around you is doing the wrong thing, to the outsiders it looks like you're doing the wrong thing. So.
Right, so.
Alright, another part. Nobody robs a bank with everyone watching. Yet that's what these people are doing. They're doing themselves in.
I like that phrase, doing themselves in. I like the message. I tell you all the time, but it's just so, it shoots so straight, right? Nobody robs a bank while everybody's watching, right? What is that? That's ridiculous. That's foolish, right? So it's saying, look how foolish the things that they are trying to get you into are. Like, you don't want any part of this, right?
Exactly.
You can look at that and say, man, that's really silly, but that's what going out to parties instead of studying looks like. It looks ridiculous. It looks foolish. It's like, why wouldn't you invest in your future and like do something good for yourself, right? And you don't want to look back and see how you were acting and be like, man, I was acting crazy. That's just embarrassing. And you're like, man, I could have done so many other things. And that's what wisdom looks like, right? It's like when you look back and you're like, okay, this is where I could have gone the other way and it would have benefited my life more. And we've been through a lot of things like that. That's why we're coming back and telling y'all, you know, this is what you should do. I spent so much of my life doing, you know, verse of the day every other day or something like that, when I could have been in the word every single day, and how much that would have changed my life, I will never know, right? So y'all have the opportunity, starting really fresh and starting really young, to build a good habit like that, right?
Well, that is Bible study for this week, guys. Hope you guys learned some stuff. Use your wisdom, use your brains. You don't have to follow the crowd, and don't do stuff that you know is wrong. What you get from that, babe? I
got so much stuff from that. Really, I just got a lot of reminiscing on like the stories that I told y'all. I know it was like Holy Spirit bringing that back to me so I could give it as an example, because I haven't thought about that stuff in a long time. So I'm glad that I got to share that with y'all. And I know we talk about peer pressure a lot, but it's just so important that you are aware of it and how it affects you and how you can stay away from it. And I'm excited about this passage. I'm excited about the rest of Proverbs. And I'm just hyped, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I'm looking to see those comments. I want to see what y'all got from it and everything. So
yes, and make sure you guys keep on tuning in every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bible Studies, where
we study the Bible. I do, and yes, of course, if you are not saved, just know that it is as simple as this. Romans 10:9 says, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you will be saved. And of course, join a Bible teaching ministry like this one.
And if you have any questions, hit us up at
youth@hofmnc.org. That's youth@hofmnc.org.
Bye.